Hey there, it's Black Star again. Just going to be going over a couple things. Basically, how Mew beats Arceus and some of the issues we have with some of the legendaries in competitive battle. So let's go over real quick just why Mew beats Arceus. I'm going to write this out. Okay, you have God. Okay, we're going to call that Arceus. And we're going to call Ancestor Mew. Now, here's the big thing. Arceus is a Pokemon, right? See? God, Ancestor. Okay? So we're going to assume, since I can catch him with a Pokeball, we're going to call him Pokemon. Okay? Now, I know what some of y'all a-holes are going to say. Some of y'all are going to be like, well, Ash caught a rice cake in a Pokeball. So does that make it a cake? A Pokemon? No, he didn't catch it. It just fell in the Pokeball. Well, I guess technically he did catch it. Rice cakes are Pokemon. Boom. Solved. Rice cake Pokemon. See, it was just an undiscovered species. Didn't look like it. Very common. Very common. We thought candles were not Pokemon, but obviously you have my favorite Litwick. Go figure. Okay. So, here is the initial problem. You have the Pokemon universe. I'm going to write this out so all you guys can understand. Okay, and then we have our universe. Okay, now here is the fundamental problem between both these things. Is in the Pokemon and our universe exists a Mew. You see, right there. Okay. God is a Pokemon. Ancestors are Pokemon. Pokemon universe has a Mew. Our universe also has a Mew. Now, you might be saying, Black Star, how does our universe have a Mew? It's not on the news or anything else. Well, if you remember the original Pokemon movie, it clearly states that Mew lives in South America. Whoa. And even in the original games Red and Blue, it makes a reference to that Mew lives in South America at Cinnabar Island Mansion. Now, how can you not come before Arceus, you may say? Or, why are you a Mewist? Obviously, Mew comes under God, right? I mean, that makes sense. I'll give you that. You know, God makes everything. God is the beginning, the end, the whole thing. But God is a Pokemon within of itself. So, you have to go, Mew hates war. Okay, real simple concept. Mew hates war. War is in our world. War is in a part of our world. It will always be a part of our world. Okay? Follow me here. Follow me here. Mew makes... And this is its first Pokemon it's made, other than other Mews. Because there are more than one Mews. Arceus. Okay? Arceus makes Pokemon world. Boom. Okay? Mew makes Arceus. Arceus makes Pokemon world. Well, Arceus makes Pokemon world. Alright, this is backwards, so just fucking deal with it. Okay? Now, in that sense, Mew is the ancestor of Arceus. Mew came first. Mew is better. By that simple explanation, Mew lives in multiple universes. Okay? Mew made Arceus to make a Pokemon universe. Arceus has to do what Mew says because Arceus came from an egg. We don't know what Mew comes from. No one has seen a Mew be born. Okay? Mew is whatever Mew wants to be. So, by that definition, Mew created Arceus. I mean, it's in the definition of Mew being the ancestor of all Pokemon. So, here's the next thing. The infinitely confusing thing is why legendaries are banned in competitive play and what is wrong with legendaries and why they are so vastly Ridiculously overpowered. I mean, just way out there. Okay. Now this goes back to the Mew versus Arceus. Mew being peace-loving. Mew loves peace. That's all Mew loves. We'll go over here, and we'll make common Pokemon. Okay? Now Mew makes Arceus, which makes all the legendaries. By the way, I have a gay guy staring at me right now, so it's kind of weird. Weird gay people. See? Mew makes common Pokemon. Arceus makes legendaries. Now, legendaries coming from Arceus. Arceus is trying to make itself the big and bad guy. So he makes them all 600 plus in IVs. The candle was hard to fucking move, and I spilled some on my hand, and it hurt. Fuck you. Okay? Mew, not wanting to do that, not wanting to fight with Arceus over whose power, decides to make the weaker Pokemon. So we're going to go with Pseudo as Mew's main fighting force. Mew doesn't have actual legendaries that it makes. It can make a Pseudo legendary which can breed, but that's about all it can do. And the Pseudos, thus, breed down to the more commons. You know. And then, beneath the commons are starters. Now, there's a reason we don't naturally find starters anywhere in the game. Because they're not common. If starters were common, every Pokemon trainer would have a starter. But, realistically, when you go through the game, how many other trainers have a Charizard? How many others ever get to a Blastoise? I mean, you may see an occasional rival or something with a starter Pokemon, but not very often. Not since Yellow do you see many people with starter Pokemon. So starters have to be less common than actual common Pokemon like Caterpie and Weedle. And it must be the Pokemon that Mew has decided would be good for young Pokemon trainers to befriend. Starters are typically overly friendly. They all have 3 evolutionary lines. They're all fire, water, or grass, aside from Pikachu, which happened to be the only electric starter in all of history. It is the only starter that's not got, well, basically a fire, electric, fire, water, or grass typing. So, you know, that kind of makes me think that Pseudos are a rare breed above all the other common Pokemon, because they're pseudo-legendary. That's why we have them. Then you have all the common Pokemon like Victory Bells and Vulpixes and Litwicks and everything else that's just bleh, common. Average day, every kind of Pokemon can be. Okay? Easy and competitive battle. Now, here's the thing. It's unfair to fight a Pokemon that is legendary versus even a pseudo-legendary. Because legendary Pokemon aren't cut from the same cloth as other Pokemon. Now, this is all going back to philosophy or whatever crap you want to call it. But, I mean, for all you people that say, oh, I need to be able to use my Mewtwo. Mewtwo's not even technically a Pokemon. Mewtwo is a creation of man. That's not a Pokemon. Pokemon is only made by Mew. Oh, but I like using the Regis. Again, their very definition is not made by man. Can't use them. And why could you use a legendary? Why would you be allowed to pull out God in a Pokemon battle? I mean, come on. It's literally, let me send out Muhammad to a battle of a bunch of soldiers. That's unfair. That is completely unfair. So, for the battling community that bitches and whines and says, oh, you can't use legendaries, they're too strong. Well, you're right. They are too strong. They are ridiculously overpowered. I mean, let's freaking face it. Mega Mewtwo X has like a 700 base stat. Okay, that's ridiculous. It starts out at 700. Most legendaries are barely 6. That's ridiculous. Most common Pokemon only get between 4 and 5. A Pseudo might get up to 6. Might. But, I mean, you have to work at it like fucking crazy. And, I mean, they have ridiculous movesets. They have legendary moves that are specialized only to them. I mean, War of Time can only be learned by, I think, the Olga. You know, Warrior of Space, Dark Void. These are moves that can't be learned by regular Pokemon and are completely unmatchable. Now, any Grass-type Pokemon should be able to learn Razor Leaf or Vine Whip. Every Fire-type pretty much knows Ember and Flamethrower and Fire Blast. Water-types always know Surf. I mean, there's good movesets for non-competitive battlers. Just keep it fair, guys. No legendaries. But that's all for today. Black Star out.